All right. It's great to be here with everyone today. Thank you all so much for joining us. By now, some of you who have tuned into our previous crowdcast know that I'm Griffin. I'm the lead ops associate for the Austin program. For those that are new, it's nice to meet you. Welcome. Today, this is very exciting. We have some alumni participating in a panel that'll go over some of their experiences and can give you sort of that insider's view into Techstars Austin. The gloves will come off. They know not to hold anything back. They'll be candid. So feel free to ask questions in the Ask a Question section at the bottom of the screen or in the chat. We can monitor both. And without further ado, I will go ahead and pass the mic to them to introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about their companies. And we'll start with Char.
Hey everybody, nice to be here. I'm Shar. I'm CEO of a company called The Helper Bees. We build software and have tech-enabled services for large insurance companies to reduce their costs associated with keeping older adults at home. Went to Techstars Austin in 2019. We were, I don't want to say we fleeced Amos, but I think he was a little surprised that we were not as far along as we were. So we really were just an idea. We went to the program, pretty much launched an entire company. We bought the URL after we got into Techstars and then launched the company during the program and have been doing all right since.
You can say fleeced, Char, that you can actually say that you did that?
Maybe fleeced. I thought we were clear that we did not have a real company.
Right. I'm Dan Green. Went Techstars Austin 2020. So last December through the day before the pandemic. So we exited program. The very next day, the entire country went into lockdown. The company is homebuyer.com. We're a mortgage lender for first-time homebuyers.
I'll go, Alex. Battling for the mic. I'm Claire, CEO and founder of Flourish. Alex and I went through program together in early this year, so Techstars Austin 2021. So Flourish helps women get healthy for good. We teach our members to build sustainable habits across the full spectrum of behavioral health through a subscription membership that offers our members unlimited access to credentialed experts, community support, and also an evidence-based education. Excited to be here.
Last but not least, hi everyone, I'm Alex, founder and CEO of Talk Howdy. We're a vertical search engine for online communities and online events. You might have known us before as a community building platform. We actually just recently switched directions. I went through Techstars 2021 with Claire, and then I was also previously the program manager for both Techstars Austin and Techstars Impact, and actually helped run Dan's cohort. So excited to be here.
Well, we are excited to have you here, all of y'all, and again, appreciate your time and taking the opportunity to share your experience with everybody. I think we should start just logically, along the chronological timeline. Why did you apply to Techstars, and specifically why Techstars Austin? And we'll just continue with the same order, unless someone is desperate to jump in and answer that.
Sure. Why Techstars? Why Techstars Austin? At the time, this was a while ago, so I'm the old man here. If I can remember the program, Techstars was known to build really great marketplace companies. Techstars Austin in particular. We started as a B2C marketplace company, trying to build traction before going B2B enterprise sales. And knowing that we wanted to make that transition, and knowing Amos in particular, his background in sales and B2B sales was really attractive to us. That track record of having mentorships, mentors, as well as portfolio companies that had, again, strong marketplace backgrounds, who have maybe didn't make that shift, but also having a pretty nice depth when it comes to B2B sales expertise was one area. Austin was easy for me. I live in Austin, have been here for a long time, so that was easy. Even if I didn't live here, I think it's a very, very attractive program. Again, I went through it many years ago. Austin's ecosystem is much better now. It was very good then. So very supportive to first-time founders, very supportive to first-time those who are raising capital. So there's I think there's a pretty nice angel network here. It's got a really great blend of small town feel. Everyone sort of knows each other, but still is able to command a national presence, especially when it comes to recruiting and fundraising. Everyone, when they hear you're from Austin, really love it. And so having really deep roots through the Techstars universe continues to be very helpful, actually. And I've been out of the program 5 years, probably.
I ended up kind of by accident. I had applied to Y Combinator and also to Techstars. I knew that our business was at a point where I live in Cincinnati. We don't have a very large network here of investors, founders. The community is it's just really young in terms of cycles. There haven't been a lot of entrepreneurs that are here who haven't exited the market, and so I'd been talking to a lot of angel investors and trying to kind of a launch round, and was really struggling. And so when I went looking for better outcomes in other cities through a friend of a friend of a friend who all happened to be connected with Techstars in some way, I ended up with a conversation with not Amos, but his peer in Boulder. And I was having a conversation about whether I'd be a good fit for the Boulder program. And the director of the program in Boulder was like, you know what, I'm hearing you talk. He's like, you got to talk to Amos in Austin. He's like, I just think it'll be a good fit for you. So I said, I applied to Y Combinator, had some interviews there, didn't get an offer as it was, but was also talking with Techstars at the same time. And Austin, terrific city. Again, I'm not from Austin, but I'm in the mortgage space, and there's a lot of mortgage and real estate adjacent technology people in Austin. It was a wonderful place to get started, and we maintain a strong network there even after I've left. So I point back to Techstars and the Techstars network, and the philosophy of giving first was kind of how I ended up in the program at all. Had it not been for the connection to the connection to the connection into Amos, I don't know where we would be today.
Oh, I'm on mute. So for us, we were around the time that we were, considering applying to Techstars and then going through the process. We were really transitioning from running as a small business or a lifestyle business, transitioning more into a tech startup, considering building technology, considering fundraising. And I don't have a technical background, nor do I have a startup background really. So it just felt like, okay, I think this is where I'm going to figure it out, or get the support to figure it out. So that was really what attracted me to, I would say, Techstars generally. And then the Austin program specifically, I live in Austin, our company is based in Austin. I don't really see that changing for, all the reasons that have already been shared here. But I also think that I was excited about Austin being like a kind of a generalist program, or one that's not necessarily as vertical specific, because I just love kind of adopting and learning best practices from other companies that may not have, anything similar to what we do at Flourish. And that has, rang true from my experience.
I'm a little biased for obvious reasons. I joined Techstars initially running the Austin program because I knew that we could be at the forefront of this massive growth in Austin. And that was really, really awesome. And I think a lot of the programs can kind of speak to that. I ended up going through the program because during the pandemic, I started running these small group video chats and then started thinking about ways that I could scale that, and ended up getting like 50 different volunteers from all different backgrounds to run these small group conversations for us. And Amos and I were on the phone one day, and he said, "Do you want to just quit?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Do you want to quit and go through the program?" For context, my background's actually in CPG products. I had my own startup before. I used to sell products also into like mass market retailers like Walmart and Target. So I've been a founder before. And so I was like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "I mean, I've worked with you for the last 2 years. You have an amazing track record with me at least. So why don't you give it a shot?" And then shortly after that, I was talking to my partner, and he was like, if you wouldn't quit Techstars to go through Techstars, what would you quit for? And I said, probably not a whole lot. So I ended up quitting to go through the program. What I specifically love about Techstars Austin is not only is it an incredible team, Griffin, Caroline, Amos included, you really do get to be part of this like booming city, this booming tech city, where you're able to come in and it's not fully developed yet. And everyone is still super friendly. It's like the first year of college where like you're living in the dorm and everyone wants to be friends with everyone because nobody has their like set network yet. So to be able to be part of a program that's like really kind of at the forefront of that with the like Techstars name behind it is really, really exciting, especially now coming out of the last 2 years.
I love
So,
that.
yeah, one of the things that we obviously talk a lot about as we recruit companies is, one of the biggest values of Techstars is the mentor network. And that expands beyond just Austin's, active mentors. There's a larger network as well, right? Because we are a global accelerator. We've got programs all over the place and mentor networks that kind of are a part of each of those respective programs. But we talk a lot about mentorship. So my question to y'all is, what was your experience with mentors during the program and after the program? Have any of them stayed on as official advisors? Do you keep up with your mentors? Perhaps, maybe someone can touch on Mentor Madness and that experience, which I think is accurately named. But yeah, I'll leave it to y'all to kind of talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I still use it.
Jump in here.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No,
go ahead, Char.
How about it?
Okay, I was just going to share just some context. So we have a 2-week period in the program. I think it's weeks 2 and 3, right? Called Mentor Madness, in which we, at least at the time of our program, we met with, I think, 100 different mentors for about 20 minutes each. And it is like literally the introvert Olympics. It was such a challenging time, but also, just incredible. You go in with like maybe 4 key questions that you're trying to answer, and you get, hopefully not 100 different answers, but certainly 100 opinions. And the goal of that is to get, 3 to 5 lead mentors that go with you throughout the program. And it was an incredible experience meeting all those people, and then also figuring out, again, like I think it's a exercise in focus for you as a founder to really figure out, okay, what are the relationships I want to build, and what type of support do I really need? And then, we were in conversation and communication with our lead mentors, at least once a week throughout the program. And since then, we've kind of carried some of those habits of writing regular email updates. And I've talked to our lead mentors, I think this week, in preparation for our first real board meeting. So I think the responsibility is on you as a founder, of course, to know how to nurture that relationship and get the support that you need. But the mentors are all on that same, kind of give first mentality, and are there to help you if you need it.
Yeah, since I went through it the longest ago, I think I still use the mentor network monthly, maybe. Maybe not our lead mentors, but that's okay. We are a very different company now, 5 years later, and so we were pretty targeted when we were trying to launch a program or launch a company. But I still talk to them. They're still on my update emails, and I'll get replies. I still do weekly updates, and they'll reply to me. I think the network is incredibly great. I think that seeing Austin, Alex alluded to this, being this booming city now, seeing the caliber of mentors being added is really great. And being an alumni has allowed me to continue to draft off of that. I don't know how they let me be a mentor, but just I have actually been able to meet more mentors from me through being a mentor. So I'm happy to give my unsolicited advice to many new companies, just so I get unsolicited advice from mentors. But I think it's the best thing for Techstars. When I was raising rounds, I tapped into the network all over the U.S., raised some money from different Techstars pockets, and it's one of the best things Techstars does.
starting a company is hard. You know, when you get past the TechCrunch headlines and the Twitter announcements and all the self-congratulating and everybody high-fiving themselves for their great investments or their great raise or whatever they did. In between all those moments, running a company is really hard. And being a founder is especially hard, whether you have, whether you're a solo founder or you have a co-founder or you're multiple founders. And one of the big benefits of the mentor network is that you're able to, it's the people you can be realist with about how hard it is to be in your position. If you're not feeling it, if you're on this call and you've already started a company or you're thinking about it, and maybe what I'm saying is resonating or not, but you will have moments where it's very, very hard. My first, when I have difficult days as a founder, the first thing I do is I turn to my cohort. The other 9 companies are my cohort, and Alex, who you've been at it, you weren't like in the cohort, Alex, but you are. So, and beyond that, it's talking to the mentor network and a lot of the folks that we met through the program. My take on the mentors is it's the Pareto principle, 80-20. You're going to find that 20% of the mentors are doing 80% of the work with you. And many of them, it'll be a great flash romance type thing. And then when program's over, you won't talk so much, but you'll find your core group. And that's your backbone, because it takes a village to start a company and to run a company. And that village has to extend beyond your team and beyond your payroll. It has to be people who can be objective and to help you. I'm a huge fan of the mentor network. And the great part about what Claire is saying about meeting so many people so quickly is it gives you a huge sample set, and you're not going to click with everybody, but you will find the ones that are wonderful and who also click with you. Been tremendous help 18 months after program for me.
Yeah, I agree with what everyone else said. I still talk to my lead mentors on a weekly basis. There's 3 of them. Very good friends with 2 of them I'm closer with. One of them introduced me to my CTO and co-founder to help me build out this new platform that we're working on. And it's been like a tremendous help to just have people that you can call that you trust, for one, but also that they have your best interest in mind. They've kind of seen you go through all of it. And it's really fun to kind of see that like transformation too. On the other side of it, like the phenomenal people that you meet going through Techstars, I think that you end up getting almost as much value from the other people in your cohort as you do from the mentors. So like 2 people on this call, like Claire and Dan, I talk to on a weekly basis. We're all very good friends still. And then Shar was like one of my favorite mentors going through the program. And I think he was like got nominated for a bunch of people's top mentor lists. So I think like it's true, Shar, I swear. So I think if you like lean into the whole thing and take it as an experience, and that every person that you meet probably has a superpower that you don't, then you're gonna have the best experience as like humanly possible.
Hey, Alex, can you?
Yeah, I want to piggyback off the cohort. Go ahead.
The term lead mentors come up a couple of times.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what that means?
For sure. So once you go through Mentor Madness, when you have like, 120 20-minute meetings over the course of 2 weeks, you narrow down your list to the top 3 to 5 mentors that you want to stick with you throughout the duration of program. And usually with these lead mentors, you set up times to speak with them once a week or once every other week. They're people that usually can supplement areas of your business that maybe you're not the best in, or or just people that you generally really click with. And then you get the decision, and it's kind of up to you and the mentor if you want to continue that relationship after the program. Some people do, some people don't. It's really up to the mentor to decide.
Yeah, if I can add to that, something that we also talk about is when you're crafting sort of your roster, your dream roster for your lead mentors, we sort of push people to identify 1 or 2 who are sort of in the same industry and have that sort of expertise, and then maybe 2 or 3 who come from totally different backgrounds who can bring just unique perspectives to your business challenges and help you see things in a totally different light, because they don't look at it like someone who is in ed tech or, has a health and wellness startup, right? So someone who just brings a totally different sort of angle to the conversation. Does that ring true? Did you guys all experience that? Did you try to craft or did you successfully craft that type of roster? Or did you feel like you got more value out of people in the industry or not in the industry? Kind of what was your experience with that?
I think all my lead mentors are like characters. Like they all have their very unique personality. They're all very like out there and can talk to me about things just beyond business. And I think that's what I really, really enjoyed about them. They're also had like a ton of experience. So they know every angle of business. And so I just went for really like well-rounded people that were expertises in one specific area. So one of them was like a tech guru, Russell. We all know Russell, love Russell. And then the other one who's like phenomenal at product and has built and sold 8 companies. So it just kind of tried to attack it from all angles possible.
I had a more immediate approach. We were trying to solve very specific problems while we were in Austin. And so I was selecting my mentors for the immediate issues that I felt like I needed extra help with at the time. And I'm a solo founder. My team was very small at the time we were going through program. Probably worth mentioning, Griffin, right? That some companies come in, they've got a lot of experience and they've got a lot of size. We were 2 employees. It was me and I was there alone. So not typical, but also not totally uncommon. And I was using mentors as a way to kind of supplement what we were trying to accomplish at that moment.
Awesome. Okay, so we all know that everyone who's here obviously likes Techstars. We all like it. We all had a good experience. But I would like to talk a little bit about, what are some of the things about the program that you would have liked to have seen been different? It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but like really, what would you do differently, or wish the program sort of supported you in a different way?
I've been pushing Amos to do one for medium stage companies, because we were his first program. He will admit, he will not be angry at me for saying this, he didn't know what the hell he was doing. We were the guinea pigs. And I hear from the other programs, it's just like super well defined. You got a curriculum, just a ton of like, Amos has written 2 books since then and has been able to to hone this particular process that I've been a part of with the different organization that he has. And I think for me, I would love to take the company back through something like that. It was awesome. Ours was chaos in the best sense of it, because the team was very new. Everyone was figuring things out as we went. So were all the core, and I think that actually pulled us in closer. But there's no regrets at all. But it sounds like some of the structure, I think Amos and team have been able to take some of that magic of that chaos, which is really good for innovation, which is why you go to an accelerator. So it's just chaos of mind, chaos of thought, and with a very structured, disciplined growth strategy, challenging your principles, being very experimentally minded. I just think the program that I've been able to see, at least from afar, is he's been able to capture that, he and staff. And so I think the new program is awesome from what I've been able to piece together.
Alex, any thoughts?
What would I do differently? I kind of echoing off of what Shar is saying. We came into program and really just had an idea and like a skeleton of it, not a scalable business at the time. And so it would have been nice to maybe have like a different framework for very, very early stage companies versus just exactly like what Shar said, like medium stage companies or companies that were able to pull, quote unquote, pull levers, which is a term that you'll hear Amos mention a lot. We weren't at the stage where we could pull any levers at all because we didn't really know what we were doing yet. We were still like in trying to figure out what the product was. So that would have been really, really nice. And then I think probably more forced interaction post-program with the mentors and with the founders would have been nice. Dan laughs.
I force interaction all the time.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Dan is like the token hype man for like every interaction that you have. Like he's the guy that's in Slack and like throwing things on people's calendars, which is
saw
great.
Me take a picture. I already had my camera up taking a picture. Going in our Slack channel. Yeah.
And so I think having like a bit more forced interaction for post program that actually is part of like a specific framework would be a lot nicer. Than just focusing on the 3 months.
Even during program, Griff and I would have loved to have seen, or I would have loved to have had more common time rather than just during program hours. And so I think I had an advantage by not living in Austin. And so I didn't have the obligations. I've got a family. I went home on weekends, right? I have family and I have children. But for founders who live in Austin, who have families or who have responsibilities that they need to attend to, parents or children or whatever it might be, everybody would go home. And I was in Austin and I was there to work and I was there to get as much as I could. As much as you put into Techstars is what you will get out. And I really, to me, it was about putting as much effort as possible. Like I was committing to this program and the program was committing to me. One piece that I would have loved would have been to have more time with other founders. Many of them lived in Austin and had other responsibilities. But I can't help that. But it would have been great to just spend more time because everybody's cool.
I feel like we should also preface that all of us had very different program experiences. Like Claire and I were doing the online program. Dan was our last in-person program, and Shar was like years ago when there was probably a lot less structure actually. So just throwing that out there.
Is this upcoming program in person, Griffin?
That's the game plan. We're operating as if it is going to be in person, and as long as there aren't any other surprise variants, then likely we will be. But we'll see what happens. But we obviously know we can do a virtual program. We can do it well. But the goal is to definitely have everyone in Austin. Okay, we have some awesome questions coming into from the audience, so I want to go ahead and turn to those. The first one that I want to start with is, did you pivot from your original vision throughout the program, and was Techstars a major catalyst for that pivot?
I did. I didn't pivot during program. We actually only pivoted like 2 months ago. So like 3 months post program. Techstars honestly wasn't the biggest catalyst for that. The biggest catalyst was just like my own general happiness around the business I was building, which I guess does come a little bit from Techstars and like the Amos mentality, which is you have to be building something that you're passionate about and that you actually love, or else it's not gonna be good for you.
Yeah, we didn't pivot, but we did rebrand, which I think is an interesting experience. I don't know how often that happens. And for us, I think demo day was kind of like a forcing factor and gave us a deadline for something that, I probably would have loved to have kicked the can down the road infinitely, because anyone who's rebranded before knows how annoying it is. And it was really powerful. I think even though, depending on where you sit in terms of how you feel about brand and how important it is or not, I think it really forced me, again, as a founder and with my team, to think about like, what do we want to put out into the world at the end of this experience, and how can we, like, using everything that we're learning in Techstars around validating assumptions and using data to drive decisions versus pre-Techstars making all my decisions based off gut intuition and what I thought sounded fun or looked cool, using like those frameworks and the levers and all that to kind of back up that decision to rebrand and change names and look and feel. And I'm so happy that we did it, and had the kind of deadline of demo day.
So mentor madness for me, Alex, I think you mentioned 120 meetings in 2 weeks. When I got to program, we were a B2B company. And so the business, really what our approach is and what makes us novel is customer acquisition, customer retention. And I'm a former mortgage lender, and I came into program as a B2B. We were selling this service to other mortgage lenders. Hey, you're meeting first-time home buyers, but you're not doing a good job of retaining them. And so that was our service. We had customers, paying customers, and we came in with a list of customers. And through Mentor Madness, I'm telling our story over and over and over again. And when you're forced to tell your story so many times in a row, like the heart got totally drained out of it. And in one of my mentor sessions, the woman sitting across the table from me practically stood up, and it was like conference room 9. Guys, like the tiny conference room, like back in the corner, and she stands up out of this chair and she looks at me and kind of expletive laden and told me, "Don't tell me you came all the effing way down to Austin just to do this for other companies. You are in the wrong business." And but wasn't saying it in an advised way, was yelling at me. And in my next meeting after, it totally shook me. And because she was right. I love to serve the customer. Selling to businesses was not the thing. But I had customers. I'm like, oh, this must be working because I have a business and I'm earning revenue. I must be on the right path. But Alex, like you're saying, my heart was not in that, and it was not what I love to do. I love to help people, and I really love seeing when people buy their first house. So in my very next meeting was with Russell. So I sat down and I got in there, and it was on a video call, and because he was not in Austin. And I just sat there and I didn't even talk about my business at all. My head was hung. I was practically in tears. I came all the way down to Austin, and we left the mentor session. He's like, "Well, what are you going to do next?" I'm like, "I got to figure out what my business is." And I changed, and we decided that the B2B, while it is a business model that works, it's not really what we love to do. And now we're having success as a direct-to-consumer mortgage lender, which is really the business I should have been building all along. That's where we have our competitive advantage. So thank you, Christine, for screaming at me in the room. That's a true story. And anybody who knows Christina Christine will tell you that actually could happen. Yeah.
That just triggered a very specific memory from my Mentor Madness session with Christine. It was awesome.
Right?
Totally.
Mentor Madness is intense. All the interactions don't go that way, but it's definitely a unique array of individuals, but they all bring something special to the table. So it's intense for a reason, but hopefully, as Dan experienced, some really great stuff can come out of that.
What's really interesting about that particular, there's all sorts of writing on the internet. People will write about Mentor Madness and they talk about it as a big feature of the program. But it's when we talk to investors or potential buyers or any customer one-on-one, it's always rehearsed and it's in a 20-minute Zoom, and you've got a storyline and you stick to it. But when you're forced to say it over and over and over again, the veneer comes off. You suddenly it gets a little bit more real what you're saying, and a great mentor is going to see through it. And that's when your breakthroughs happen. I'm not the only person who's had experiences I think all of us can talk about a specific mentor meeting where it's oh my gosh, the things that come out.
I told Amos I wanted to be roasted during Mentor Madness, and I ended up crying 6 hours in because of oh my gosh, why am I blanking on his name? David Mandel. Not because he was mean by any means, but because he was just speaking straight knowledge to me, and I was like, "You just get what I'm doing." And I was crying. It was an interesting experience.
So another question from the audience. What kind of preparation do you think potential candidates should do in order to make the most of the program?
I have to hit mute for 1 second, everybody. I'm sorry, if I can figure out how to do this. I'm sorry.
I'd sleep a lot, I guess.
Yeah.
Our program was really hectic. It was a crazy schedule, and for me it was it was a pace that I like to keep to this day. And I think just getting mentally prepared that you're going to go through the gauntlet and it'll be a formative experience no matter what stage your company's at. I think getting in a good mental state is really critical. Having been a part of several programs now since mine, as well as other Techstars programs as a mentor, I've seen companies who have approached it with an open mind get the most out of it, and those who didn't just don't. And so I think getting into a mental state where you're going to be really vulnerable, if you hear a lot of the comments here, and these are not unique, vulnerable because your company is for better or worse tied up with a lot of your identity as a founder. And you're going to have a lot of very smart people have sometimes very strong opinions on certain things. And I think that's the best thing about the mentor process, even past mentor madness, which is challenging yourself and challenging your view of your company. We need that. We need the friction in order to grow. And it's, at least for the Austin program, it's a very safe place. I have not met a mentor that I thought was an asshole. I think that I run into mentors all the time now in the ecosystem. Like I said, Austin is a very small group, and it's a very small network, and Techstars is one of the centers of the universe here. And so I meet them all the time socially as well as professionally, and people are still willing to help. And I think that you have to be in the right state of mind to be able to accept that help. If you think you have it figured out, just don't apply. It's not going to be worth it for you.
Tell your friends and your family what you're doing before you do it. Like, make sure you're super, super clear with them. Because honestly, like, you're working all day, and at the end of the day, the last thing you really want to do is spend time with other people. You kind of just want to actually like take your alone time and be sacred with it. And so just like being really, really clear with the people around you that like, hey, I'm not ignoring you, like still love you, but this is what I'm doing for the next 3 months, or bringing them into the experience, I think is super, super crucial. Because if not, it can create stressors outside of program, which you really want to minimize as much stress you have outside of program as possible while you're in program. Like, don't move during program. It's a bad idea. Dan's just laughing.
I'll add to that to also, I think, prepare your team if you have one, and think through like what that dynamic is going to look like. If you're going to be, in Techstars kind of working on the business, then who is working in the business, and to what level do you want to bring any of those team members along, whether it's a co-founder. We brought our director of marketing into some things, and that was a really cool experience for her, and it certainly helped us. I would also say on like more of a personal level, like, yeah, figure out how you're going to take care of yourself. I mean, we started doing like HelloFresh during Techstars because it was like, okay, we will either not eat or go out to eat every single meal, or like Postmates stuff. And that was not something I wanted to do. And then maybe consider taking a little bit of time off at the end of program. I think we went like literally from demo day to fundraising. And I think we're still trying to like catch our breath after that. And if we had maybe taken like even 3-5 days of just nothing, I think we actually would have benefited from that. But hindsight's 2020.
Yeah, Dan, I don't know if you want to add anything to that. I know you stepped out for a second. The question is just advice for, how people should prepare before entering the program to get the most out of it.
Just be ready to work. That's it. You're here to do a thing. So do that thing. Every moment, the more you said earlier, the more you put in, the more you'll get out. And I think every founder in every class can point to the people, the companies that came and took it super seriously and had great success, and the ones that kind of just floated on by. And you're like, well, you wasted an incredible opportunity.
And so, Claire, you mentioned team, which I think is an important thing to touch on. A few of you entered the program as solo founders. Dan, you mentioned this already. What was that experience like? Some folks do have teams, some have co-founders, but others don't. And for us, that isn't a problem. When we look at an application, we don't dock you points for being a solo founder. But what was your experience like in that position? We'll start with Alex or Dan.
I kind of made Alex a member of my team during program. I leaned on, and there was actually something that was cool. Amos pulled me aside on the first day. We sit down, we had our first workshop on the very first day, and everybody got together with their teams to work on a thing. And he kind of pulled me aside and he's like, look, you don't have people to work with. He's like, I'm here. And Trevor, who was there, and Alex, and program made sure I had the resources that I needed in order to be successful, even coming as a solo founder. It wasn't a special concession. It's just, this is what's required. And so Alex helped me with a lot, actually. I mean, we talked a lot. Remember, I even came early. Remember when I was in Austin before program, we sat down on the couch and we were talking about stuff?
Yeah, I remember you called me when I was on a bachelorette party like the week before program, and I went outside. All my friends were like partying inside, and Dan and I were just on the phone. I was like, Dan, you're going to do great. Like, don't worry.
Sounds about right.
I also went through program as a solo founder. It was incredibly difficult, but I would say it was a little bit more difficult because I'm not technical. That is something that a lot of mentors and people look for. We were actually using a outsourced dev team at the time. I would recommend trying to either get someone that's permanently on your team that's technical before going through program, because then they will be able to absorb as many of the resources as possible that maybe you can't, or try to get a bit more technical knowledge prior.
Excellent. Now let's talk about something that is on everyone's mind, which is fundraising. Did y'all go out post-program and raise a round? Was Techstars Demo Day or Investor Week a part of that? Did that help with the launching that next round? Or what has your experience been post-program with fundraising? Let's start with that.
Shar, do you want to go first, since you probably had the most typical market experience coming out of program?
Oh yeah, sure. So we didn't have Investor Week. I think that's one of the awesome things that has Amos has changed. That being said, I have drafted off of other programs Investor Weeks, and they have let me do that. So I will try to get a copy of the investors and just weasel my way into a couple of meetings. I think it's a phenomenal thing. We were very dumb in the program and were resolute in not needing to raise money, and just totally didn't nurture that at all. And then 2 months after the program, we're like, oh yeah, we definitely need to raise. So we lost all that momentum. So that was very stupid. But since then, we've done a couple angel rounds, and then an A round. And Techstars was absolutely pivotal in every single round that we raised. Not only what we learned from the pitching during the Mentor Madness, I was very awful at pitching, and having to do it hundreds of times really helped. And just the mechanics of it, and leaning on your group and learning about how terrible it is to fundraise. I think having a support group and being able to just talk it out with people who are alongside you has been very. I'm about to do a B round, and I'm continually using the exact same group. But yeah, I think Techstars, if I had played it right, would that momentum, you come out of Demo Day, you're going to be the belle of the ball coming out of Austin. I think incredible momentum. But it's not it. I think I also counsel people, we totally flubbed the landing and continue to do well. I mean, we raised a decent angel round, having never raised money ever before, at least angel or VC money into our A round. And then specific our A round, Techstars corporate was very helpful for me, raising that and helping us support us with other investors outside of the Austin area.
The Techstars network and corporate has been incredible. And so one of the things that's excellent about it is it instantly expands your network reach, right? So you only know who you know. You come into program, you probably don't know very many people. If you're fortunate enough to have friends or family that can make an investment, that's great. Maybe there's local angel networks, but they're not always experienced investors, or certainly don't understand what it's like to build a startup. Maybe they're retired dentists who are looking for, give you $50,000 for 20% of your company, which happens. But you're going to do a launch round whatever size that might be. And the Techstars network is incredible in just helping you reach more people more quickly with a more focused message, and you're pre-vetted. It's the equivalent of, you've got an Ivy League school on your resume all of a sudden, and it's really easy. You're going to get the interview. You might not get the job, but you get the interview, and that's a critical piece. When we left program, lockdown started the next day. It was like running into a stiff breeze for 3 weeks, and we kind of made a change and got a little bit smarter about how we were raising. Ended up finding a smart partnership and reduced our need for capital in the near term. I wouldn't have figured that plan out if it wasn't for the people in the Techstars network kind of being like, hey, here's what's ahead. But we continue to lean on the network even as we raised our seed round, and Techstars has been super helpful. I don't think we would have been able to get the capital we needed to build as quickly as we have without the network.
Yeah, we're finishing our first round right now, which is cool. So I think it definitely, we would not be in this position without Techstars. I think on a lot of different levels, if I think like practically for the people sitting in the audience right now, I think it was just so helpful to develop a process for fundraising, having not, again, like been in this position before. Like I had no idea how it actually works. And so there's workshops throughout the program talking more about the process. And then also the work that you do for demo day, while it's not like exactly an investor pitch, the demo day prep followed by investor week, which was, kind of it's almost like Mentor Madness style format, but with investors who have opted in to meet with you. And what was so powerful about that was, having 20, 30 something meetings with investors within the span of a week forces you to get really, really good at your pitch. And so it helped us to take that demo day pitch, and then we reiterated that thing probably 10 times within those, those meetings, even just during investor week. And I think that would be something that would be very, not impossible to recreate on your own, but really challenging. And there'd also just be like an unbelievable level of administrative work associated with that, like scheduling those meetings. And so I think just on a practical level, having Techstars support for that really helped us, kind of come out of the gate strong. So yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing Techstars does really, really well is the whole last month is pretty much a forcing function to get you ready for fundraising or whatever you plan on doing after. So making sure that your financial model is in order and connecting with the best people that are amazing at financial models, and then throwing you into like mock investor meetings, or connecting you directly with mentors. So they really kind of like shove you off a cliff a little bit in a positive way, to getting you going. If you're planning on raising, we're not planning on raising anytime soon either, but we still have phone calls with investors and start building those relationships. And some of them have actually become mentors to us. So that all happened through the Techstars.
Griffin, can I add something on here? I remember at the time, so Investor Week is, at least for us, we all did our demo day where we get on stage, we give our big pitch in front of an auditorium. And then there was 3 days of double opt-in meetings with investors. And maybe there's a pool of 100 or so investors that will take meetings, and you meet for 20 or 30 minutes. And I remember at the time I was miffed. We were clearly an early stage company. And many of these investors say, of course we invest in early stage companies, but then very few actually did. And I was miffed. I was like, well, why are you taking these meetings with us? Why are you even wasting my time and your time to hear a pitch on a company that if you're telling me I need to have X metrics or certain traction? And we get together as founders and we're like, this is so ridiculous. These investors say that they invest in our companies. Why are none of them writing checks? Okay, so it's a year and a half later. And I've kept some of these relationships. I've been mailing my updates. We send them our regular updates, and we keep in touch, and we just talk about industry things from time to time. And they ask me questions. Hey, how do you think about this particular thing in the real estate space, whatever. So even today, I'm still having conversations with an investor who I met a year and a half ago for a 20-minute meeting I thought was a total waste of time. But now we're still gleaning really important information. Like we're as we sit here and think about what our next steps are going to be as far as a raise, and somebody may emerge leading a larger round for us, much larger than it was when we left program. And it's the mentality or the way that you think about how you run a business. Like this is a long game for all of us, for everybody. And you always have to be thinking about, what's my immediate gain or what's my immediate result here, but all of this plays out over a decade. You start a company, plan on your next 10 years. Like this is what you're doing, and every meeting, every mentor, every investor, it all factors in. Just wanted to add that. I think it was interesting. A year and a half later.
Definitely. Yeah.
Well, I can build on that. We the investor who led our A round 4 years before did a mock investor roundtable for us at our Techstars program. So 4 years later, they led our A round.
Amazing.
So, I mean, it definitely works, and I think we had a lot of exactly that. We didn't have investor day, but we met a lot of investors through Mentor Madness, and quite a few of them, would have participated in our A. And so, I agree. I mean, investors are like mentors. They ought to be if they're any good.
Yeah.
And using them as such is very helpful for who knows what's going to happen, but worst case, you get some good advice.
The trial is going in both directions, isn't it? It's an opportunity for you to get to know your investors too, because they are also building your business with you for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
No doubt. Well, my final question is going to be around how the Techstars has supported you all as alumni, but I think individually throughout the conversation today, you've touched on that. So we'll go back to the audience questions, and now would be the time to populate the questions if you have anything that you'd like to hear from the panel. What did you most gain by being with the other members of your cohort and working closely with these other entrepreneurs?
Not feeling alone. I mean, I think that being a founder is one of the most insanely emotional, challenging experiences. And there are certain things, even with co-founders, even with team members, investors, that you just cannot talk about, or you're not necessarily, I think having other founder friends, specifically like CEO friends, it gives you so much space to process through some of the emotions that you're going through. And that for me was throughout the program and continues to be just the biggest, I think, takeaway.
Yeah, we talk about the network a lot. I think the cohort is better than the network. I talk to a Techstars CEO within my cohort every week or every other day. We hired another co-founder. They work for us. I talked to another co-founder, a CEO this week who's 4 companies later. It's an amazing, the sense of loneliness is real when you're starting companies are hard. You're trying to do something that you have no business doing, and you need people who actually can emote with you and can be like, yeah, totally understand, like raising money sucks and building teams sucks, and it's such a powerful feeling to be sort of understood in an innate way. And so I think that's one of the best things. And you're in this crucible during the program, either virtually or on site in person, and it forms that bond that, again, we're 5 years out. I'm trying to hire another co-founder just because I know them well and I trust them, and they've been really great to us. And if I start another company, I've got a nice pool of co-founders I'm going to go run after too.
It's hard to make adult friends, right? You get to be a certain age and it's hard to make new friends. And I think if we all, you think about our lives and when was the last time we made a new friend? I made a lot of friends in program, like legitimate friends. And that's cool. And so and there are people who, Charlie uses the word crucible, and that's exactly what it is. And that's where friendships get formed. So, I think, beyond all the business stuff on a personal and emotional level, it's an opportunity to make good friends, and you need friends. Friends are very important.
Yeah, friends especially. in this process.
Right.
Like I think about if I had a network. I don't know if there's really anyone outside of Techstars, like my Techstars founder friends, that I call first. Like I'll go through my list of Techstars founder friends and like reach out to them, I think, before I'll reach out to almost anyone else in my life, if it's business related, just because they're going to be the ones that are going to understand it. And they're going to be the ones that can either talk through it with me or give me action items. Or like we have someone in Dan's cohort, Shelby, also still one of my very good friends. He literally gives me homework. Like he'll send me articles and be like, you need to go study this and read through it and write it out and then send it to me. Like he'll send me a Calendly link and be like, book a time with me. And I'm like, Shelby, we like text. That's weird. But it all came through this experience, and it came through just getting to know other people that are in the same boat and experience like as you. Yes.
Well, that Shelby story doesn't surprise me one bit, that he's giving you homework. That's like the most Shelby thing ever.
Dan, I just pull up our Voxer conversation. Dan and I yell at each other via Voxer all the time, all positive yellings. Too. And then like, for instance, I think yesterday I got a call from one of the founders that went through one of my programs, and I won't say which one. And they were like, hey, we're like running down on runway. We're kind of like desperate right now. Can you help us? And I sent them my whole entire investor pipeline, and then found other investor pipelines that I had and sent it over to them. And like, that's what we all do for each other. Because I think once you go through the program, you really want everyone else to succeed. It's not like there's no competition. It's not about who can raise faster, who has more customers. It's really about like, how do we all build each other up so each and every single one of us succeeds? Or hires, or joins a different team. Like what Jarvis said.
Yeah. Don't poach your other founders unless they're ready. It's a quick way not to have a good friend. But I thought a lot about this in Austin. I do want to make a plug for Austin. So again, I'm entering other programs, and I think this is a common sentiment among Techstars programs and accelerators more broadly. This feeling of a group and a cohort. But I think a lot about this. Like Amos for us right now, he's the one common thread that I have with the other programs, and so he's definitely looking. Amos is he likes to connect people, and he connects in a particular way. So I think it's not by accident that all the companies bond so tightly, and that's because it's all looked. And now Amos has a very large selection committee, and he seeks a lot of input. But I've gotten to know him really well. We speak weekly, and I think that is the reason. Again, plugging Austin. Austin's a great community, but Amos in particular is a very good MD. And I think that's why our cohorts are so tight, is because he sees something in all of us, and we all see that same sort of thing. So it's not that we all think alike, but I think there's something that goes beyond that. And I've met a lot of other MDs too, and Amos is uniquely very good. And I can say that because he's not on the call. If he was, I probably wouldn't have.
I think this is a perfect place to end. A plug for Austin, a plug for Amos. Thank you all so much for participating in this. This was amazing. Now you did all the selling for me. I don't have to do it anymore. So no, this is awesome. And yes, if your questions weren't answered, or you just want to connect or talk Techstars, I dropped my email in the chat, and we will see everyone next Thursday at the next virtual event.
Can I say one last thing? Sorry.
Of course. Please.
Any founders in the watching this, we actually do have, I have a Slack community of pretty much all very early stage founders. Some of them are Techstars, some of them aren't, and I think some of y'all are actually in there already. So if you want to join it, you're more than welcome to. It's obviously totally free. It's just a great way to connect with other founders, and just email me at alex@talkhowdy.
And I can help direct people there as well. So thanks again, y'all. Talk to everyone soon.